My most memorable moment was I returned match figures of none for 140 on debut, and they picked me for the next test.
Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to Kerry O'Keeffe Show number 4. Thanks for supporting it. We'll be dealing today with my predictions for 2017. I'll be answering your questions, but first, a story from Uncle Skull. Desperate times require desperate measures. It was the spring of 1995. It was Melbourne Cup Day, the first Tuesday in November. I was at home. I was experiencing a period where I wasn't full-time employed. That period had lasted for 12, 13 years. My wife was at part-time work, my 2 sons were at primary school, and I was sitting there. Through that winter, we looked at the stained carpet in our home and thought we need new carpet desperately. It smelt, there was a shocking odour, and it was Joseph's coat of many colours because of our dogs. We were desperate. So my wife initiated a jar where we would put any money in that we saw as loose change, and we would buy new carpet at the end of the year. First Tuesday in November, we had $400 in that carpet account, and the quote for new carpet was $3,200. I had to do something about that. So I decided, spur of the moment, that I would back the winner of the Melbourne Cup, and it had to be paying $10 or more. So there I was with the form guide, looking through, and I came upon it. It was an import. I always back the imports. I love imports. In fact, if I was a mare in the stables and they brought an import in, it would only have to whinny during the night and I'd be in foal the next day. So I cut it down to the imports and arrived at Doriemus. Trained by Lee Friedman and ridden by Damien Oliver, our Lester Pickett. It was showing $10.60. Fill your boots. It was wet. Doriemus was a mudder. His mama was a mudder. His dad was a mudder. I knew in the mud that this horse had a huge chance. I got the jar, $400. I surreptitiously put it in the passenger seat. I got in my car and I drove to the South Hurstville TAB, walked in, wrote the number on a betting ticket and had $400 on the nose of Doriemus. It was risky. I walked home. I drove home. I was happy with my ticket. Doriemus was a gelding. And if it didn't win, my wife would ensure I was that night. However, I picked her up from work, picked my children up, I sat down, and we were there to watch the Melbourne Cup. As the horses were parading behind the barrier, they announced that Doriemus was just about to take its place. I turned and said, "Darling, our carpet has just been loaded into the barrier." She was less than impressed. It has to be said. I said, "Darling, it's all on Doriemus." She wasn't happy. However, at the 800 metres, it was linoleum for the next decade. But on the turn, suddenly I had the lounge. By the 300 metres, I had 2 bedrooms. By the 200 metres, I had the whole house, as Ollie piloted Doriemus down the outside to win running away by 2 lengths. Yee-haw! And I whipped him all the way. So much so that the neighbours called the cops thinking there was a domestic. And there would have been if he hadn't won. But the next day, I rang the carpenter and said, "I've cleared $3,680. Your quote is 3,200. We accept it. and I had a $480 drinkies. Fill your boots. Drink and bet responsibly. Bet with your head, not over it. Unless you need carpet. With 2016 now behind us, Australia's Test record was 5-5. 5 wins, 5 losses, and they're about to start the Sydney Test match against Pakistan, where they are short price favourite. This current tier of players is good. The tier behind them is the interesting group of players. So I thought today I'd deal with players to watch in 2017, given there's an Ashes campaign next November. 5 tests against England. And although this current crop are likely to solidify their position in the side, there are going to be challenges. Let's look at a few of the contenders for 2017. At the top of the order is a player I've got a lot of respect for. I've watched him on the live feed in Sheffield Shield cricket. His name is Marcus Harris. Plays for Victoria. He's the leading run getter in Sheffield Shield cricket. I think he has a more expansive game than Matthew Renshaw, and he has more rhythm. This is a player who initially played for WA, was inconsistent, changed states, and has got many runs already after 5 games. Look out for him, Marcus Harris. Smashes, a left-hander who smashes it through point, whips it off his hips, but I just like the fact that he flows. One to watch. The other player in the middle order who has underperformed to a certain extent given his unbelievable potential is Sam Heazlett of Queensland. This is a left-hander who can play spin. I spoke to a couple of former spinners, former international spinners who played him in England, and they said he's as good a young player as they've seen from Australia in terms of how they played them. Heazlett has had injury problems and he hasn't quite got the runs that I thought he might. But he is one in the middle order who could really challenge people like Hanscom or Hilton Cartwright throughout the year. Jot him down as Heazlett. Ashton Turner, Western Australia, much touted. Has come through the system. Greg Chappell is a big fan, thinks he has leadership in him as well. Stroke player all around the ground, bombs it. Has a strike rate in Sheffield Shield of 61, has got plenty of runs this season. Bowls handy off spin. He may have a more rhythmical game than Travis Head, who's also touted. Watch him, Ashton Turner, Western Australia. The best wrong'un in Australian cricket at the moment is possessed by a 45-year-old. Brad Hogg. That's why he has longevity, because people can't read the wrist as much as they once did because they don't see as many. Hoggy has the wrong'un from heaven, but he's 45. The best wrong'un under 20 years of age in Australia is possessed by Devlin Malone, who plays for Sydney University, is contracted to the Melbourne Stars, and will make his way, possibly through short form, into Australian cricket in the near future. It is a wrong'un to behold. Shane Watson said it's one of the best he's ever faced. If you've got a stock ball leg break that is more than handy, and you've got this wrong'un, it is a passport to success. He's only 5'4", and that may be a problem, but I've mentioned this fellow before on the show. If he stays injury free, he is a chance of challenging in short form initially and maybe in the longer form. Devlin Malone. This brings us to the quick bowlers. Chris Tremaine, Victoria. I love our swingers. I love Damien Fleming, leading the right-hander. I like Ben Hilfenhaus, again leading the right-hander. Australia in recent times have picked medium-fast bowlers who wouldn't get movement if they swallowed a packet of Laxettes. Chris Tremaine swings it. He swings it away. And he currently is the leading wicket taker in Sheffield Shield cricket. He's having an absolutely fantastic year, and I commend his name to you as the summer rolls on in February. Watch for him. England just around the corner. prodigious outswing. See Tremaine from Dubbo. One has emerged in recent times. He's been injury prone, but he is definitely a candidate for higher honours. His name is Billy Stanley. The day of the 5'10" fast bowler in Australia is gone. You've got to be 6'2" or more and upwards of 140k. Billy Stanley is 8'4". And I like his action. He's not a big leaper, but he's strong. And at that height, if he can get it to steeple from just short of a good length. He's missed a lot of cricket through injury, but if they get him right and they can get him on the paddock, he may represent greater value than Pat Cummins even. Look out for him as the Sheffield Shield season resumes in February. He's currently playing in the Big Bash, but he is very impressive. Billy Stanley from Queensland. Watch these guys in 2017. Australian cricket is on the rise again. It's time for your Twitter questions, and thank you very much for them. John Stewart tweets, true or false? Your first thought is that Australia will get flogged in the Test series in India. False. I think we'll win this series 2-1 against all the odds. It's not a shock jock comment. I don't think India are that good. There's a vulnerability there that wasn't exposed by England. The core of this Australian team is very strong. And the core I speak of, Warner, Stark and Smith. Warner is prolific on the subcontinent in IPL. He knows how to play their spinners. If he gets his head down and doesn't try and attack too soon, plays measured innings, he can win 2 tests. So can Smith, of course. He alone has driven this resurgence in Australian cricket this summer after the deaths of Hobart. And because it's such a frontier for Australian cricket to win in India, I expect Smudger Smith to lead from the front. How do we get wickets? People have concentrated too much on the spin aspect. Last time we went there, Nathan Lyon was the leading wicket taker in a beaten side. This time, Mitchell Stark. He should have won at least 1 test in Sri Lanka, but for the batting. He took 28 wickets in 3 tests. This is a guy that knows how to bowl those flying saucers on subcontinental pitches. Look out for M. Stark to win at least 1 test, maybe 2, with his left armers. I don't think we're hopeless in this situation. In fact, I think we can meet India head on and win this 2-1.